Hi there, and welcome to this week's masterclass, webinar, whatever you want to call it. And this evening, we're diving into how to thrive over the Christmas and holiday season and beyond that into 2025, and hopefully make 2025 a great year for you. So, there's two things we're looking at: how to thrive in a difficult time, and obviously, all sorts of times can be difficult times on this journey, but also how to know you're going to be okay whatever happens as you go into another year. For those that don't know me, I'm Russell Davis. I think most people know me in some kind of connection or capacity. That's why you're here. So I'm Russell Davis. I'm a cognitive therapist and a coach, and I help women and couples on their fertility journey. My wife and I had a 10-year journey of infertility. Initially, the focus was on my wife. She had an 8-year journey of healing herself, both physically and there's a psychological element to that as well, to get into a healthy cycle for the first time. And after that, we really thought, great, that's it, we've done it. Then after about a year or so of trying, as you know, become experts on this journey, we've found out I had problems and no one ever considered me potentially having problems up to then because the focus was on her. And I did a test result and it was disastrous across the board. And I spent 4 months trying to improve my fertility, doing all sorts of things I know can make a great difference. And after 4 months, it got slightly worse. And looking back, I can see how much my fear contaminated that. I was doing those things out of fear. And I really believe we do things out of fear. Often we feed that fear, which can do more damage to the good things than the good things we're actually doing. That's sent me into a bit of a psychological tailspin. I wasn't aware at the time that unconsciously I was living my life. I'll be happy when. And one of the things was, I'll be happy when I have children. So all my life, it's been, I'll be happy when my mum's happy with me. I'll be happy when I get good exam results, got my degree, got my career. There's always something else I needed to achieve or create in order before I could thought I'd relax and be happy in life. Almost trying to prove myself, prove my worthiness. And the next thing was children. It looked like it wasn't happening. That sent me into a tailspin, thinking we're never going to be happy. And that prompted my own kind of psychological journey. And if you follow me for a while, you know that I often talk about Project You versus Project Baby. And Project Baby can become all consuming, and the more we focus on Project You, Project Baby takes more care of itself. So that prompted my own kind of Project You journey. I wouldn't use that language back then, but it did prompt me to look at my own kind of psychological stuff that I've been maybe burying for some time, for many years, decades, in fact. And that's why I think about this fertility journey. We don't create new limiting thoughts and beliefs about ourselves within the journey, but it's such an emotional roller coaster. It shines a spotlight on those things in our own lives. And I wouldn't wish a 10-year fertility journey on anyone. I wouldn't wish a 1, 2 year journey on anyone. But I'm really thankful about what I learned about myself on that journey, which truly believe resulted in us being able to have our son naturally against all odds. But also, I think I'm a happier man as a result and a better father than I would have been otherwise. I'm not a perfect father by any means, but I think I'm a better father than I would have been had I not done that journey. I think unconsciously I would have carried on stuff from my own parents, my own mum particularly, who's suffered from anxiety and depression, became an alcoholic. And I think I would have continued stuff from my own childhood unconsciously. But doing my own Project You journey released me from that. And also released me to know that I'll be okay whatever happens. And I truly believe from that space, that's where the magic happens. So that's a quick canter through me. And I encourage you to watch and listen to this, to either live this evening or the recording. And a lot of people get into recording, but to watch and listen in a relaxed way. What I mean by that is, don't try and get it. I'm going to talk about all sorts of things, but I want to hear in a relaxed way, like listening to music, like listening to a meditation, where if you listen to music or meditation, you're actually focused on it. Listen to music evokes something within you. I'm more interested in what it evokes within you, more what my words say. My words are really talking to your cognitive, logical mind. I'm talking to something deeper within you. I think with personal development, personal change comes from having a change of heart about you, your life, what the world, how the world works, your thoughts, your feelings, where well-being comes from. It's a change of heart in those things that creates personal change, not new thinking. Most of my clients have too much going on in their head as it is, and I was very much an overthinker. It's those insights, realizations, a change of heart that comes from a quiet mind. That's where change comes from. So I encourage you just to listen in a relaxed way. I'll be sharing some information. You're all getting the recording. So you're on live, you're getting the recording. And of course, if you've got the recording, you've got the recording, so you can listen to this more than once. So don't worry about trying to get it all in. Just let it wash over you. And if you get one insight, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. One insight is better than loads of written notes that don't go anywhere. So I encourage you not to make notes. Please don't make notes. Just have an experience as you watch and listen. You can go back over and capture things later if you want. So please don't try and make notes. Just have an experience as you watch and listen. See what it prompts within you. That's my encouragement, my wish for you. So it's going to be a session of kind of two halves. In the first half, I have got some information, some slides I'm going to take you through, but even so, in those, just see what they prompt within you, my words prompt within you. And the second half of it, when it's many slides, is me just talking and guiding on a journey, again, to hopefully create some more insights without having to focus on anything. And I like people to keep their cameras off so they can just relax, not to be attentive and just listen in a very, very relaxed way. So if you listen to the recording, same thing. Just cozy up and listen in a very relaxed way. So the first one say, how is surviving the holiday season? And this is true for any kind of anything in life, really. I think the holiday season is more intense, but how do you survive lots of things in life? And when you've got lots of challenges and expectations upon you, the first thing I want to touch on, I'm just going to share my screen. Get to the right place. So the first one I touch on is expectations. I'm going to pause so you can have a quick look at that kind of cartoon. I'm a huge Calvin and Hobbes fan. I think Calvin and Hobbes are more popular in the States. My cousin used to live in America when I was a teenager, and he got me into Calvin and Hobbes. So I want to talk about expectations. Now, especially through the holiday season, there may be a bunch of expectations on you. Maybe expectations to show up and be fully present and enjoy family engagements. Expectations to be a certain way, do certain things. I would say expectations in any context are toxic. Expectations are unspoken agreements. No one likes expectations being put on them. Expectations stop us having opportunity for appreciation. Expectations creates far more opportunities of frustration and disappointment. Let me give an example. Imagine you go away for a week, maybe on holiday with some friends or on work, on business, and your partner's home alone. And you come back after a week and you put the key in the door, the front door. And if you have an expectation of how tidy your place is going to be, the house is going to be, then if the expectation is met, there's no appreciation. Well, I expected it. If you have an expectation it's not met, you're going to lead to frustration or disappointment. If you have no expectation whatsoever, you have far more opportunity to have appreciation and far less opportunity to be frustrated or disappointed. Of course, it's kind of a bit of a minor, silly example, but it demonstrates the principles around expectations. No one likes expectations put on them. They're unspoken agreements, and they create frustration and disillusionment, and they stop having appreciation. So I want to be mindful of expectations over the holiday season. Do you feel you have expectations being put on you by other people? In that case, have a conversation with them. Make an agreement that you're happy to make. Do you have expectations you're putting on yourself? Let go of those expectations. You're putting yourself under pressure unnecessarily. So to be mindful of expectations and capture those, sense those, see those, and let go of those and turn them into agreements if they're expectations from other people. It's just the first thing I say is be very mindful of expectations. The second thing I want to talk about is having your needs met. having your needs met. And sometimes it can feel very selfish to focus on our needs and having our own needs met. But it's really important. I think this journey, when I work with my clients, is really helping them honor their heart and their soul, because unconsciously they're focusing on other people. It's like a lot of them are people pleasers. I was very much a people pleaser. And one of the things that came to fore in our fertility journey was how much I was a people pleaser. I was living the life I thought I should be living rather than true to my heart and my soul, honoring my heart, honoring my soul, saying yes to things I wanted to do, saying no to things I didn't want to do. So having my needs met was an alien concept to me, because growing up as a kid, it was making sure my mum was okay. If she was happy, the house was a happier place. If she was in a bad mood, it wasn't a happy place. And as a kid, you think your survival is dependent on the pack being a happy place, a safe place where you feel loved and valued, and you have that validation from your parents. So I was, my needs went out the window. It's more what my mum's needs were. So I lost that connection to my own needs. But that was an alien concept. So for my clients, it's helping them see that it's okay to have your needs met. It may feel selfish, but there's a difference between healthy selfish and unhealthy selfish. So I'm going to take you through a quick audit to work out how much your needs are being met generally in life, particularly on this fertility journey, and particularly over the holiday season. This is from a book, How to Master Anxiety by Griffin and Tyrrell. It's a human givens. Human givens is a modality of kind of therapy. And they talk about, the key human givens, the needs we assume are there, but often they're not there. They're givens, but often they're not being met. And it's a little like an audit they can take people through to sense, whether your needs are being met. So I'm going to jump through these, and they say we should score each one out, I think out of 7 or 9, I can't remember, and see which ones are lower scored. And you can do that as you go through, make a note of, in your mind, which ones you think stand out to be the lowest scored ones. So the first one, do you feel secure in all major areas of your life? Do you feel secure in all major areas of your life? And I think security is one of the core fundamental things as humans we're seeking. As children have said, that the mammalian part of our brain thinks our survival, our security is dependent on being an accepted member of the tribe. And the tribe being secure, because as mammals, that's in the wild, that's what their survival is dependent on. Hunting, gathering as a tribe, in a pack. So their position, the pack needs to be secure, and the pack needs to be secure. So security is a really key thing that unconsciously we're trying to seek. So the question is, do you feel secure in all major areas of your life? Maybe in your relationship, maybe at work. Where do you feel insecure? Just be aware of that. And there's 2 things that come to mind. One is maybe there is some job insecurity because of the economy or something else. And it's accepting and acknowledging that and being aware of those emotions and allowing the loving compassion, and maybe seeking support and feeling heard in all that and supported in all that. And the other one is recognizing actually, at the end of the day, security is an inside job. A lot of toddlers feel that their security is dependent on a particular teddy bear or blanket. And we know it's an inanimate object. It's their thinking creates that feeling of security. Security actually really is an inside job. So if you don't feel secure, that ripples through all different areas of life. And that's not great on the fertility journey if you don't feel secure. It's just a good question to explore. Do we feel secure? Another one is, do you feel you receive enough attention? Again, as children, if we don't get enough attention, we start to think our position in the tribe is under threat, that we're not fully validated or wanted, or we don't feel our position in the tribe is secure. So often we seek attention. So for me, I sought attention by being a good boy, doing my homework, pleasing my mum to get positive attention. But this studies show that if kids don't get enough attention, they start seeking unhelpful attention, maybe playing up, because any attention is better than no attention. So attention is really, really important. It's a bit of a validation. So do you feel you receive enough attention? I'd clarify that also, but the right amount and the right attention, because you might feel you get a lot of attention, but maybe it's the wrong kind of attention. On this journey, maybe it's people asking awkward, difficult questions. You don't want that. You want to treat it as a normal kind of daughter or friend or kind of partner, and just have a sense of normality when actually on this journey is so much focused on Project Baby, which contaminates people's interactions with us. And maybe we don't, maybe we feel like people are avoiding us because they don't know what to say. And it can start to feel quite lonely on this journey. So do you feel lonely on the journey? Do you feel you have enough attention? Do you feel you have enough contact with people who just care and you can just be and share and be heard? We all need that. Do you think you give other people enough attention? And it's something about we're designed to be in community. And in particular on this journey, sometimes we don't feel like being in community. We want to distance ourselves from others for all sorts of reasons. And we start cutting ourselves off because maybe we don't feel good enough or worthy, we don't feel we belong in society, all sorts of things we'll come on to. But we can maybe start to cut off from other people and we're not giving them attention. And there's one of the best things that someone with kind of maybe depression can do, and they feel like they're cutting off from society, is to maybe go and volunteer at a charity. And when you volunteer, you're giving your attention to other people. You start to feel better about yourselves because we feel crap about ourselves and crap about life because we're overthinking. We're making stuff about us unnecessarily. We're taking things personally. We're overthinking stuff. But it's all stuff about us. It's all stuff about us. When we're in a poor place, a low state of mind, we think the world revolves around us. We think people are avoiding us because they don't like us. Or maybe they're avoiding us because they're busy. Or people don't text us back. We think, oh, we upset them. And maybe they haven't got a battery or a signal. So we're in a low state of mind. We do make things about us. So how can we put attention on other people that will make us feel better? Do you feel in control of your life most of the time? Of course, we live in a world we can't control everything. Stuff happens. It's just a chaotic, unpredictable world. But of course, on this journey, it feels even more like you feel you can't control. Because a lot of my clients feel like they have control of things in their life. Maybe it's their career and all sorts of things they've achieved in their life. They've had a goal, they've knuckled down, they worked too hard, and they made it happen to one degree or another. And it feels like there's a sense of control in that. They've made it happen. Because when it comes to our fertility journey, that approach doesn't work. In fact, I think that approach can be absolutely counterproductive when it comes to fertility, because often that approach is about striving, pushing and striving, which is actually driven by a low level of fear of not achieving, or fear of failing. That striving puts tension into our body. That striving puts tension into our body, which is obviously not good for fertility. So it's about feeling in control. It's more about the fear of not being in control, because we never control stuff. It's about, do you have a fear of not being in control or fear of the unknown? That's not helpful. Do you feel part of the wider community? As I said, we're born to be in community. We're born to feel like part of a tribe. And often on this journey, we feel like alienated. We don't feel we're true members of the society because we don't live the norm of what society expects. So you get married and have kids, and 2.4 children, whatever it may be. And then you start to feel different to all your peers, and maybe feel life is you're being left behind in life. All these things, we start to no longer feel like we truly belong, where our friends are suddenly making new friends at NCT classes. And for those in the States, not sure if NCT, it's kind of baby prep classes, or there's kind of school gates, and suddenly you feel don't fit into that world, and you're a bit of an outsider, and we start to feel we don't feel part of society. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Do you feel part of a wider society? Can you obtain privacy when you need to? And obviously, one of the things about this journey is quite public. It's quite people aware whether you have children or not. They may not know whether you want children or not, but probably deep down they do. They get a sense of who you are, and unless you've been quite frank with them, no, I don't want children. They probably can pick up on the journey we're on, and may feel it's strange that we're not having children. And it's quite a public thing. And I don't know how many times you've been asked, so you haven't planned to have children? It seems a very public thing to normally ask. We don't ask people out, oh, so have you got a good pension scheme? it's like it's really strange how it's quite a personal thing, but it's also a very, very public thing as well. So you may feel that, you don't have privacy on this journey. It feels very kind of public. Do you have at least one close friend? And, we found on this journey some of our closest friends found it difficult to know how to support us, to relate to us. And we're thankful we did have some great close friends, and that was key to our journey, having that kind of support. But I know many of our clients have lost or felt more distant to close friends because of they just couldn't cope with knowing what to say and do. And when they have children, we feel more disconnected to them. We feel like it's difficult to be happy to them. This journey can contaminate friendships, and we need someone we can confide in, be real and honest with. So, do you have at least one close friend you can be brutally honest with? Do you have an intimate relationship in your life? Of course, as we know, this journey can be the dampener on intimacy in so many ways. So you might have a loving partner, but you may kind of not have that sake of intimacy, and also this can put a strain on the best of relationships. So you might know you love each other, but maybe you don't feel so loved because it's put a strain on the relationship and strain on intimacy. So it can make couples feel more distant and disconnected, which again is a big factor. And unfortunately, there's studies that show that this fertility journey can put a bit in a strain on relationships, and the relationship strain can impact fertility. So it can become this kind of vicious cycle, which is why sometimes we need help to break that cycle. Do you feel an emotional connection to others? And say sometimes we feel disconnected because they just can't relate to where we're at. And sometimes we struggle to relate to where they're at because our friends' worlds are so different. They're just caught up into family life, and we're outside of that. So sometimes we feel emotionally disconnected, even to our own partners. We can feel emotionally disconnected. And one of the things I do when I work with someone, I always offer joy. If we're working with one person, it tends to be the women, they're more open to this psychological support. I always provide joint sessions, maybe one-to-one with a partner, because it's about how do you recreate that emotional connection. And it's so important. And it's actually pretty simple to recreate, but no one teaches us to do that, especially blokes. Do you have a status in life that you value and is acknowledged? I think it's about being valued. Do you feel valued in life? And it's got to start with you. Do you feel valued? Do you value yourself in life? And so often we don't think we value ourselves. We're chasing these things to feel valued, to feel worthy, to prove our worth, to prove our value, because we don't feel like we're as valuable as other people in society. So it means from this survey, do you feel valued and is it acknowledged? I think my challenge is to start with you. Do you feel you're worthy? Do you feel you're enough as you are? Do you think you're loved and worthy and valuable as you are? Because it starts there before someone else recognizes it. Are you achieving things in your life that you're proud of? And often say when Project Baby becomes all consuming, life gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And we lose a sense of kind of purpose and a sense of achievement outside of Project Baby. And Project Baby does become all consuming and life shrinks. And you start to have less sense of pride in who you are and what you're creating in life. Do you feel competent in at least one area major of your life? And again, when Project Baby becomes all consuming, you don't feel competent in it at all because you can't control it and you get constant reminders of failure, failure, failure. And there's no feeling of competency or winning in life. Again, to be mindful of that recognizing where you are competent in life. And even with sometimes business coaches say that if you're trying to be more successful in work in business, take up a hobby or sports and set a challenge in there because you'll see where you can feel a sense properly proud on what you're achieving in things outside of business. You can bring that into work and business. But when Project Baby becomes all consuming, we lose those external frames of reference to see how a sense of competency in ourselves. Now, are you stretched in ways that give you meaning and purpose? I think this is really, really important. I ask most women in my first conversation, or men, so most of my clients are women, I'm asking them, what will having a baby give you? And often it is a sense of fulfillment or purpose. And I truly believe we all have a sense of purpose beyond being a parent. And if we think our sense of purpose is to be a parent, that unconsciously puts pressure on our children. And I think I want my son to know he can live a life full of passion and purpose. And one way of doing that, hopefully, is me being passionate and having a sense of purpose in my own life as an example of that. And if my sense of purpose comes through him, it puts pressure on him. And of course, it's just heading towards empty nest syndrome. When the children no longer leave us so much, we feel, what's our purpose? And it's just pushing the crisis out to there. And I think that fear of not having a purpose can put tension to our body and hold us back. I always think what we're ever creating, it's a place to come from, not a place to get to. So if you think having a baby will give you a sense of purpose or fulfillment or belonging, whatever it is you think it'll give you, that's a place to come from, not a place to get to. And it's looking at what's stopping you feeling those things now. It's not actually having a baby, it's thoughts and beliefs about ourselves we picked up along the way. Because look at babies and toddlers, they're just content, they're just fulfilled, they're just in the state of flow. They don't feel they need something to have a sense of purpose or achievement or worthiness. So it's a quick canter through. This is one emotional audits. There's all sorts of other life reviews you can take. But I think it's quite interesting just to recognize where perhaps some of our emotional needs are not being met. And just to have some loving acceptance about that. Because often we soldier through, soldier through, soldier through, and it's just not helpful. It's just not helpful. It's about recognizing what are your needs, and it's okay to have your needs met. It's okay to have your needs met. And it's going to move on to, okay, so what happens if your needs are not being met? How do you get people to hear that and understand that, whether it's your partner or your parents or in-laws or friends? How do you get yourself to be heard when you feel your needs are not being met? And I want to give you an overview of I always found one of the best books I've ever read. It's called Non-Violent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. It's got a violent title. It's not about violence in a way, but it's really about helping us to get our needs met and see through the emotional aspect of a conversation, because often a conversation can become more kind of violent when it gets more emotional and becomes a clash of emotions. And that just isn't really helpful. He's pointing beyond the emotions. Behind the emotions there's a need that's not necessarily being communicated. And if we can learn to communicate our needs, there'll be far less strife in this world. And Marshall worked with individuals, organizations, even countries, nations, to try and help a sense of understanding when there was conflict. So let's quick canter through this very simple four-step process. It starts from observation. Then we move to a feeling, and there's a need, and then maybe it's a request. The request is kind of optional. So it's going to take you through this briefly. Starting with observation. Now, when we're starting to try and express how we feel about something and why our needs are not being met, we need to start the conversation with an observation rather than a judgment. Often we share judgments. We tell people what we think about something, and we judge people. So I'm going to use a very silly minor example through this process. Imagine there's a mother with teenage boys. I've got a teenage boy, and there's dirty clothes all over the house. The towel's always in on the bathroom floor. The dirty dishes are always on the counter above the dishwasher rather than in the dishwasher. Now, these things can be quite frustrating. Now, if we're to say you always leave your dirty dishes on the counter above the dishwasher rather than in the dishwasher, that phrase "you always" is a judgment. And when someone feels they're being judged, they're going to get defensive. It's just human nature. If you feel judged, you're going to try and get defensive. You're going to defend your position. And it's an opinion. Someone may disagree, and they're going to give you a reason why they disagree. So it gets messy when we bring judgments into this. It just gets messy, and it stops your core communication being heard. So starting with observation. So in the instance with dishes, it could be, when I see your dirty dishes on the kitchen counter, it's just an observation. There's no judgment. It's a pure observation. So starting with an observation rather than a judgment. The next step is to focus on the feeling. And the key thing here is two key things. One is to own it. I feel. The phrase is I feel, not it makes me feel, you make me feel. Because again, if you say you make me feel, they might get defensive. And the truth is, nothing makes you feel anything. It's not the situation you make you feel whatever you feel. It's not the other person, what they said or done. We live in the experience of our thinking. I shall unpack this a little bit more later, but the truth is we live in the experience of our thinking. It's our thought about the situation creates our feelings, nothing else. So we need to own it. We need to own it. I feel. When we own it, they're less likely to get defensive. And the key thing is, it needs to be a feeling. Because often we say, I feel, but what follows is a judgment. I feel ignored. That's actually a judgment. You're judging someone as ignoring you. It's not a feeling. If you think someone is ignoring you, you may feel sad or hurt or upset. So it needs to be a feeling. And often we're quite lazy with our language. And we say, I feel, what follows is a judgment, not a feeling. So when I see the dirty dishes on the counter, I feel frustrated, perhaps, or I feel annoyed, I feel sad. So feeling, it needs to be a feeling. Then it's going, what's below the feeling? What's the need that's not being met, which means you have that feeling? What's the need that's not being met that has that feeling? So in this situation with the dishes, maybe the need is to know we're all taking our fair share, looking after the house. And we're a team in caring for the day-to-day tasks of the house. So the feeling is I feel frustrated because I have a need to know we're all pulling our weights and sharing the load and being a team in running the house. Maybe that's the need. Or whatever the need is, just recognizing it and and sharing it, because often we don't share needs. We share what we think about a situation, we share how we feel, often it's a judgment, but we're not very good at sharing our needs. And when we share the level of needs, I think we're designed to try and help each other's needs wherever possible. We want to help each other wherever possible. So sharing the need. And then what follows may or may not be a request. Would it be possible to put your dirty dishes in the dishwasher? Imagine that conversation compared to, oh, I'm fed up you putting your always leave the dirty dishes. I'm just fed up of it. And again, the feeling coming out in a tone of voice rather than owning it, sharing it. You make me so annoyed. That approach compared to calmly owning it when I see your dirty dishes, I feel sad because I need to know that we all take care of running this house. Really possible to put your dirty dishes in the dishwasher. That's far more like to be heard and land than the emotion coming out in the tone of voice, not owning it, blaming them, full of judgment. It's just going to get messy. And that's when it becomes more of a violent communication. And that's when Marshall Rosenberg talks about having non-violent communication. And it works two ways. Is to share your needs, share how you feel about something. And you can also use the process to unpick someone else's emotion. When they're ranting and raving, you can say, so you're feeling angry? Yeah, of course I'm feeling angry. So what's the need here? It's not being met. You can point them to the needs so they can help articulate their needs and get those needs met, get it below the emotion and get to the core needs. So I hope that's a useful tool to use over the holiday season to make sure you can identify and have your needs met and communicate your needs. So moving on to kind of the second part was about kind of more mindset. And this is the mindset that underpins every aspect of life. This is looking at what commonly gets in the way of us knowing going to be okay whatever happens, to have more innate resilience, And most of my clients have a busy mind, a lot on their mind. I can fully relate to that. I was very much addicted to my thinking. I had a very, very kind of busy mind. And I was going to stop sharing because I haven't got any more slides to share. I might actually share my screen to draw a picture in a minute, but we'll see what comes up. So there's three core misunderstandings around our mind and how our human experience works that often result in us having a more busy mind, taking things more personally, feeling more feeling more kind of stressed or having dis-ease and creating a lower state of mind. And the first one I'll say before I launch into this, we'll launch into a misunderstanding the nature of thought. A misunderstanding the nature of thought. Often on this journey, we think we need to have a positive state of mind, positive thinking, and we're scared of negative thinking. We're trying to manage our state of mind. That's a misunderstanding in the nature of thought. One which means One of the characteristics of thoughts, the nature of thoughts, is you can't control it. You just can't control it. We can't choose our thinking. We can't choose our state of mind. You couldn't predict your next five thoughts if you wanted to. It's going to happen. Spontaneous thoughts come into our consciousness, and we have no control over that. No control over it. And that can feel scary. But the good news is we don't need any control over it. It's because a toddler has a tantrum. They have a very, very busy mind. Let's get my model of our brain. This is our brain at times, full of thoughts, overthinking, stressed, worried. So Todd has a tantrum. They've got loads of thinking going on, loads of thinking. And they're acting it out in the middle of the supermarket, but they've got nothing on it. They're just in it. They don't try and fix it. They don't try and change it. They're just in it. And what happens? It just settles all on its own. And it's soon forgotten. Just forgotten. That's how our mind works. But as an adult, we suddenly get into a negative state of mind and we think, shit, what do I do? What do I do about this? How do I change this? How do I fix this? I mean, put in more energy into it. Maybe do my breathing, do my meditation, do this. Oh no, this is not good. How do I fix this? I better do this. And we put in more energy into it. Put in more energy into it. We realize, okay, I've got negative thinking right now. That's okay. It settles all on its own. It really is a self-correcting system. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we're thinking. If we just leave it to its own devices. Thought is not the problem. It's our relationship with thought. It's our thinking about our thinking. That's what caused the problem. Now, we all get crazy thoughts, if we're honest. I can be in a queue and be in a hurry and think, whoops, I push that person out of the way. I'd never do it. I met a psychiatrist and thankfully confirmed that I'm not mad. We all have those crazy thoughts from time to time. We don't give them a second thought. They're gone and forgotten about as quickly as they come in. It's only the psychopath that gives them a second thought, a third thought, a fourth thought. And before we know it, they think it's the most important thing they need to do. Other thoughts come into our consciousness, we think they matter. What if none of our conscious thinking matters? What if none of our thinking needs a second thought? If we just let it settle, like that snow globe, it's when it settles, we have a quiet mind. We access a better quality thought. Our intuition, our wisdom, our heart, our soul, our true self, that knows we're okay. Our true self that came into the world as a baby, complete, perfect, not needing anything to be content, as long as it's fed and watered, doesn't compare itself to others, doesn't think I'm okay if I learn to walk. No, I learn to walk in my own time. Everything's okay. There's no comparison. There's just innate well-being. And we grow, we learn to do all sorts of things from this place of okayness. The quiet mind, just being. That's our true self. That's our innate self. It's actually our default setting. It may not be our habitual setting, but don't get me wrong. I had constantly such a busy mind. I thought that's who I was. I'm a warrior. I thought it was my default setting. I'm a warrior. My mum was a warrior. I'm a warrior. It's just who I am. It's not true. It's not true. Well, actually, I thought I was a warrior because of my circumstances. I thought it was my circumstances creating my why. But realized, no, it's this thinking. I thought, how do I stop it? I resented it. I got annoyed with it. I wished it wasn't there. That's putting more energy into it. That's putting more energy into it. The more we understand the true nature of thought, the less attention we give it. The more it just settles and moves on, and fresh thought is always coming in. We're always moving back to peace and well-being if we allow it. If we allow it. We can't control thought. We have the most amazing ability to have thought, to have imagination. It's an amazing power we have. We don't realize how much we live in our imagination. We live in our imagination. Which leads me to the second misunderstanding. And it's a misunderstanding where our experience comes from. As I said earlier, I thought my worry came from my circumstances, whether it's my bank balance or my workload or my relationship or whatever it may be. But we live an experience of our thinking 100% of the time. It's our perception of a situation creates our experience, not the situation. We live in a world of imagination 100% of the time. I think sometimes we think our brain is like a camera. We're taking in information and processing it, but it's actually a projector. It's like we have this movie screen behind these invisible glasses, and we're projecting our perception of the world. And everything behind that screen, everything we see on that screen is our experience. Our experience doesn't actually know what's happening outside of that in the real world. Our experience comes from our perception of life, the projection on that screen. We look at life through this filter, this screen, this filter, these glasses of thoughts, and we don't realize we're doing it. When you wear glasses, you forget you're wearing them. But if someone said, "Do you wear glasses?" Yeah, yeah, I wear glasses. But most of the day, you're not consciously aware they're there. And it's like this filter of thought. We're not aware we're doing it. We're not aware we're living the experience of that thinking. We see something, something happens, it triggers us. We think we're responding emotionally to that physical situation because that's what we can see. It's the obvious place to look. But there's this invisible layer of thought, our perception of the situation. That's what creates our experience. The story, the meaning we attach to it. So you get a negative test result. You see someone pregnant. There's a story kicks in. It's never going to happen to me. It's not fair. Whatever the story is, that's what we're feeling, not the circumstance. Believe it or not, the circumstance is actually neutral. It is what it is. It is what it is. Different people have different experiences of the same circumstance. Some people get a negative test result and be very happy they got a negative test result. So the circumstance is neutral. It's the meaning we attach to it creates our experience. And we're not bad or wrong for having the experience we have. We just have the experience we have. It's spontaneous. But the more we know it comes from thought, the less we have to be scared of it. The feeling itself is never the problem. It's our relationship with it. Being stressed or being sad, being triggered, it's called being human. We're going to do it. We're human. But the more we understand where that experience comes from, that it's thought in the moment, we don't have to pay any attention to it. We can allow it. We don't have to be scared of it. And it just moves on. Emotions are thoughts that have come alive into our nervous system. It's the same way as the clitoral settles, the thoughts settle, our emotions settle. Our emotions settle. So no matter what the emotions are, whether you have negative emotions, fearful thoughts, it just doesn't matter. You can't control it. You don't need to control it. The less we pay attention to it, we come back into a quieter mind, more ease, more flow. And for me, maybe that's maybe a place of possibility. A place of possibility that's almost, I think, the sweet spot. A quiet mind tends to be a place of possibility. That's a great place to be. You don't need to be hopeful and positive and optimistic the whole time. It's impossible. It's impossible. Place of possibility is a place of ease. So, yeah, the second misunderstanding is a misunderstanding where our experience comes from. That we live in the experience of our thinking, nothing else. And the more we can see that, we hold our emotions more lightly. We don't have to struggle with them. We can allow them. We don't have to resent them, try and get rid of them. We can just be with them. And they move on. True freedom is not never feeling scared or fearful or anxious, or sad. True freedom is not caring how we feel. A bit of the weather. Our emotions are like the weather systems. They come and they go. We have no control of it, but that's okay. We're not the weather, we're the sky. We're the sky's ability to have all sorts of weather systems. And the more we allow it, it just moves through. I used to work for an airline. I don't know how many times over the years I worked there. We took off from Heathrow, London, grey day, quite grey in UK a lot. And it always, I'm a bit embarrassed about this, it always surprised me as you broke through the cloud, there's blue sky. It always tickled me pink, or made me smile. It was almost I forget it's there. We have such grey weather at times in the UK, and it could be some time before you see the sun in the winter. And I've just forgot it was there. And we have these grey clouds of despair or thought and negativity, and we can't imagine anything else. We think it's who we are, we think it's our life, we think it's our circumstances. No, it's just a habitual thought. It's a habitual story you're living in. It's an innocent habit. And actually, most of these stories are not actually about fertility. They're stories from childhood, often we're bringing into a fertility journey. I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, whatever it may be. If you want to work with a client, we do a lot of work about clearing out these limiting beliefs we picked up along the way, which is why it's not really about fertility, it's about life. It's about life. We live in the experience of our thinking, nothing else. And we all do. Others are the same. They live in the experience of their thinking. You don't make them feel anything. You have the power to make them feel anything. They're living the experience of their thinking. And the more we can see that, that's quite freeing as well. We're not responsible for how someone feels. Doesn't mean we don't care how they feel, but we're not responsible. We don't make them feel anything. A lot of my clients and I was very much felt responsible for making sure other people are okay. But that's actually impossible. It's impossible. And the third misunderstanding is a misunderstanding where our well-being comes from, our sense of okayness, our security, our worthiness. Because the busy mind is often pointing us in the wrong place. Again, habitual stories from childhood. So here's the thing, there's three parts of our brain. The oldest part of our brain is the top of the spinal cord. It's the fight or flight response. It's called the reptilian brain because that part of our brain has the same structure as reptiles. Wrapped around that in our brain development, the middle part of our brain is the mammalian brain. That part of our brain thinks our survival is dependent on the pack being secure and our position in the pack being secure. Then wrapped around that in our brain's development is the cortex, the human brain. But emotional intelligence is not fully formed to later teenage years. So prior to that, the mammalian brain is quite dominant. It thinks our survival is dependent on being an accepted member of the pack. And obviously, the family unit is a very influential pack tribe growing up. It could be the friendship circle at school. Which why sometimes as a kid, if you feel you're not liked, it feels like life or death. The fight or flight syndrome kicks in. So we're born with this innate well-being. But as a child, we start to think our well-being is dependent on the things outside of us. Whether we think we need to meet parents' expectations to feel fully loved, for them to be proud of us. Or if there's conflict in the school groups, we think we need to do something to be okay, or we start to question our okayness. I'm okay if people like me. I'm okay if I'm not kind of picked on. I'm okay if I prove my worth, please people. And that starts sowing the seed of doubt of okayness or looking for the rules in life for me to follow to try and be okay. It sends us what I call outside in. I'm okay if, I'm okay when. We start looking in the wrong place for okayness. It's actually within us. We're born with it. We're like a diamond, perfect, unique, precious. But life sometimes throws mud at us. Other people's insecurity, fear and stuff gets played out. And again, we make it about us. As a kid, I didn't have the emotional intelligence to know it's not our stuff. I didn't have the emotional intelligence to know my mum's stuff was her stuff. I thought it was me. I thought maybe I deserved this. So what other kids get different family experiences. Maybe it's what I deserve. Maybe it's me. I'm not good enough. Rather than knowing under me, it's her insecurity, it's her fear. Because we don't have that emotional intelligence. When we're kids, we make it about us. And we start taking all these things on board. And it's like this mud gets thrown at a diamond, it sticks. And before we know it, we look We look at ourselves, we see the pile of mud, we think we're not good enough. And we work really hard to polish the outside to give a shiny exterior. Because we don't want others to see ourselves the way we see ourselves. Or we mask up by putting a layer of nail polish around the outside. But the truth is, that's not who we are. That's who we think we are. We're still the diamond within. This innocent thinking, the innocent stories we picked up from childhood are just that, innocent stories. Oh, they feel true because they have the best special effects upon the whole wide world. They have our emotions, but they're still stories. You could be in a low state of mind and later on feel okay, and there's nothing you've consciously done to get into that state. You can't remember the transition. It's when we stop paying attention to our thinking, when we stop interfering and trying to manage our state of mind, we drop into a place of okayness. It's actually our default setting. It's actually our default setting. It's that on one hand, knowing you're okay in this moment, you're complete in this moment. Your soul is complete. There's nothing you need in this moment. Of course, we still have hopes, dreams, and desires. Nothing wrong with wanting to create stuff in the world, including a family. But having both and the creative energy between the two moves us forward. Without this, we think our okayness is dependent on this. That puts a lot of pressure on this process. Puts a lot of pressure on this process. Having both. It's knowing you're okay. That's the cornerstone. It takes the pressure of this, we hold it more lightly. Whatever it is you want to create, we hold it more lightly. So the third misunderstanding, misunderstanding where our okayness, our well-being comes from. There's a difference between needing a baby and wanting a baby. The moment it shifted from a need to a want, and I didn't believe that place existed, place of peace without giving up, we hold it more lightly, knowing we'll be okay whatever happens. The moment I truly believed we could be happy and fulfilled without a baby as much as we are happy fulfilled with a baby, that's when the game changed. That's when things fell into place and we got pregnant against all odds. But I found that place by dealing with my own journey, dealing with my own insecurities, my fear of not being good enough, my fear of never being happy. And really looking underneath those things, it wasn't really about having a baby. It's about me knowing I was worthy and lovable for who I was. I had nothing to prove in the world. So I don't wish, 2, 1, 5, 10-year journey on anyone, but I am thankful about what I learned in my journey. So however tough this feels right now, I get it's tough. I really wouldn't wish this a 1-year journey on anyone. But there is a potential gift in this. I truly believe that. I truly believe. I know it's easy for me to say that from the other side, but I've worked with hundreds of couples and women on their journey. So there's a misunderstanding about the nature of thought. What if you're fired from the job of trying to manage your state of mind? What if you're fired from the job of managing your state of mind? There's a misunderstanding of where your experience comes from. What if you didn't care how you felt? Or it just doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way of feeling on this journey. What if that was true? And it is true. Allow yourself to feel perhaps the relief of that. And the third, what if you have everything you need within you? You are okay. You've got nothing to prove. Whatever happens, you'll be okay because your okayness is within you. You are worthy. You are loved. You are lovable. You are worthy. You are loved. You are lovable. Whatever happens. I'm going to pause there. If you have any questions, if you're live on the call, feel free to type in the chat box. And if you're on the recording and listening to this, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, reply to any of my emails, or contact me via my website. Happy to have any questions or follow-ups. And my wish for you is to know that, you are okay. You really have nothing to prove. That's my wish for you. And from that space, you can live, I call inside out, following your heart and your soul in life, finding a purpose that's beyond being a parent. And that's what it's like Project You, that's what it's really about. It underpins, yeah, Project Baby, but I think it underpins being who you want to be in our life, being the parent you want to be, being the partner you want to be, having a sense of purpose. It all comes from living inside out, knowing you're okay. And it's okay to follow your heart. Your needs and desires are just as important as anyone else's in this world. So we need to know, whatever happens, you'll be okay. You may not feel like it right now, but you'll be okay. Loving you.